Now, if you're watching this video, it's because you're concerned about missing trades or taking losses by playing the wrong higher time frame zone. And that's exactly what I'm going to fix for you today. Now, essentially, all it really is a shift in mindset and a shift in approach to the markets. And essentially, instead of picking one specific PD array that you wait for your model to present within, you're going to do this instead. So I'm going to start off actually by doing some higher time frame context just for completeness sake, just so you know that the higher time frame was on side, because I believe that to be an essential part. So very quickly, the daily is bullish, right? We've got 5 or 6 consecutive candles here, right? We're extremely bullish. If we go on the 4 hour and actually look at what PD arrays are being respected, you can see that it's all bullish arrays, right? Like this FVG, this order block here. We have this FVG here as well as the most recently respected PD array. So we're clearly bullish, right? So we have the higher time frame context. Then on an intraday level, you can see that London session has taken out Asia's low and this old low into that 4 hour FVG, and we've expanded higher. So in terms of the daily power of 3 that's formed, right, you can see that we've opened up, we've moved lower, and now we're starting to expand higher. So when it comes to, what are we expecting next from New York session, it would be another expansion to the upside to form the rest of that bullish daily candle. Okay, so this is where we actually get into the meat of the teaching. Now, essentially, what you would be waiting for ordinarily, right, for New York to play out is for price to retrace into some kind of PD array and then expand higher. Now, the issue arises is when you're trying to select the exact PD array that price will form your model within. So, for example, this isn't a very complex case study right here because there's only 2 PD arrays, but we have this bullish order block, right? So potentially you would see the bullish order block and you would stick with it. You would say, I'm waiting for price to get into the order block and present my model. Or you would say, I'm waiting for price to come into this FVG and present my model. And you would stick with that PD array. Now, if it was a more complex example, which me and you both know from experience that this stuff happens a lot, is if we were to have like an extremely bullish leg, okay, and within there were many PD arrays to pick from, right? Many order blocks, many FVGs, maybe an inverted fair value gap of some kind, right? You just have a big selection. So when it comes to operating like that and trying to select the specific zone where your model is going to play out, if you were in this scenario, right, it lowers your probability massively because you would pick one zone and, price has the ability to present your model within any of these, right? Because we are within a range. Let's say the lower the range is here and the higher the range is here, and you're expecting a retracement before an expansion higher. All of these PD arrays are valid, okay? So knowing that all of these PD arrays are valid, right, it doesn't make sense to try and pick just one, like the exact one, when you know that all of them have potential to be played. So a different approach is actually required. And this applies to all examples, whether it's as complex as the one I just drew out or as simple as this one here. So we have 2 zones. We have the order block and the FVG. And the range that we're within is this low and this high here. Now, as long as price is within this range, okay, any of these PD arrays can be what propels price higher, okay? So like I say, picking one of these and sticking with it doesn't make sense. You want to be more flexible. So now, how do we actually be flexible with this whilst staying accurate and actually identifying high probability trades? Now, what you're going to be doing is simply aligning time with price. Now, if you've watched ICT, you know you've spoken about this before and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But essentially, we're going to wait for price to show us what we want in a timing that we want. So going off of this example, we're waiting for New York session, right? We're waiting for that New York session to impulse higher. So we're going to wait for that New York kill zone, and we're going to wait for price action within that kill zone to be favorable, right, to present the model. So by doing that, there is no rule there that says it has to be a specific one of these PD arrays. It just has to be any one of them, and time and price aligns. So let's jump onto the lower time frames, and I'll talk a little bit more about this and show you how it works. So playing it out, and we get to New York kill zone, right? So now price is within that session, right? That key timing. Time is aligned. Okay, we have the time aspect. So now we're waiting for price. So let's say that you are waiting for price to come into this bullish order block. However, time was in line, right? We was in that kill zone, and price presented the model in this 1 hour FVG instead of coming into this order block. Does that mean that you shouldn't take the trade? Well, no, because we know that these zones are valid, right? And price has presented the price at the right time. So you should take the trade regardless of whether you was expecting price to come lower. The same goes for if you were expecting price to present the model in the FVG. If price comes lower into the order block and presents the model, it's still valid, right? We're still within that range. There's still valid buy zones. So there's no reason why you should be trying to be a perfectionist essentially and stick with one zone. So if we let this play out, you'll see that price takes out equal lows here, and then we start to expand higher, right? You can see that we form a change in state of delivery by forming this bullish order block here. And what are we within? We're within that FVG. Okay, so at this point in time, we're within the kill zone and price has formed the model, right? We've swept this liquidity and we've formed that change in state of delivery, right? Which shows that price is now ready to move to the upside. So let me ask you a question. Would price form this after taking liquidity and a key timing if we were going to come into this order block? The answer is no, right? If price was going to come lower into this order block, then it would have just kept coming lower and then presented the entry. Okay, so you have to be flexible with this and essentially just identify the potential zones and wait for your model to present within there at a key time rather than trying to pick the exact zone. Because if you were being stubborn and waiting for price to come into this bullish order block, then you would miss the trade, right? You can see that price from there, we run and we actually go and we take out the high just as anticipated. Because imagine this as well. Imagine this other example, right? Imagine you have a range, right? And you choose that you want to buy within this FVG and there's an order block below here. If you are stubborn, right, and you're expecting price to play within this FVG, then regardless of what price looks like within that FVG, you're going to force it, right? If price presents, some kind of something that vaguely looks like your model, right, but you know that it's not really A plus, but you're hell bent on it being this zone, you're going to take a loss, right? You're going to make a mistake. But if you're flexible with it and you see that price is coming into here, we're moving, but we're not really presenting anything too favorable, right? You're going to be flexible and you're going to say, wait, price is likely to actually come down here and then present, that A plus model and then go to target. Now, if you want to learn this model and you want to be able to trade the same way that I present in my videos, you actually don't have to necessarily buy my premium mentorship, right? I have put together a free learning guide which gives you directions on how to go and backtest and what to backtest in order to generate the same results, right? So if you're the type of person that doesn't really want to spend money, but you have more energy and more time to actually put into the craft, then, that is definitely for you. And I'll leave a link in the description. Now, if you're the type of person maybe with a little bit less time, maybe a little bit less effort to put in, and you want a more streamlined experience, right? I have a premium mentorship which lays everything out on a silver platter in 5 very in-depth, very easy to process courses, plus another, 4 or 5 services of predictions, case studies, trainings, and more. Right, so there's something for both types of people, and I've left the links for both of them